Hi, everybody. First time ever done, YouTube live. So, I just kind of wanted to let everybody know how Aiello started. I was back born in Sicily, and my brother, in North Italy, in Piemonte. And we came to this wonderful country of the United States of America. My father says, we'll be here 10 years, then we go back. But here we are. Since 1972, we lived in this beautiful country. But in 1982, after 10 years of living in Brooklyn, my father said, hey, what do you want to do? I was ready to sign up for the Air Force, the United States Air Force, and he gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. He goes, well, why don't we start a restaurant? My father was a big hunter. He hunted all over upstate New York. There was Yellows in Walton. Then there was Raimondo's in Roscoe. We opened up next. These all family members. And then my cousin in Oneida, Coliseum. And we got two places left. And here we are. We got Raimondo's and Aiello's in Winnie Point. So in 1982, we started this venture. And my father, said, this is all the money I got. So you got to make it happen. Okay, then let's make it happen. So me and my brother Vinny, we worked really, really, really hard because at the end of the day, I think in life, if you don't work hard, you're never gonna make it. Sorry about the hair, I haven't fixed it yet. But yeah, we worked 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and we didn't want to fail because failure is not an option. I can and my father, tell him I failed. That's not gonna happen. He put all his money up. I said, well, we're gonna have to make it happen. So here we are. We started in 1982, and it's 7 days a week. Mostly was a pizza shop. It was, manicari, lasagna, ravioli, basic, basic, basic. So with time, we decided, why don't we venture out into more fine dining cuisine? Like chicken piccata, via marsala, and we hired some great chefs. Max has got a restaurant in Syracuse, Lemongrass, very successful. He opened up in Ithaca, couple restaurants, then he went to Syracuse. He gave us a big push. I think I got to give him a lot of credit. And there's a lot of other chefs that really helped us out. Uh, we had Parmentier. He used to run uh, the Binghamton Arena. Sorry if it took me a minute to think. And unfortunately, he's no longer here with us. Died at a young age, but he also used to come out, tell our customers, "Hey, what would you like to eat?" And that was such a great thing to see a chef come out and tell the customer, "What would you like to eat?" And a lot of people like that. And we had all the chefs and stuff like that, and little bit of time we became more of a fine dining family restaurant, never 100% fine dining. It was a little bit of family and fine dining, and it was very exciting. Still, it took us a long time to finally to get it where we are. It took us a long time. It's a lot of dedication. You got to make sure you tell the customers how much we appreciate them. We got to tell again, a lot of family help, and great employees, through the years, with some amazing employees, that helped us out. And without the team, we wouldn't be nobody. So we got to make sure that we thank everybody that through the years made Aiello's great. A couple people, I had a, unfortunately, she's no longer with us, Laura Carpenter, 30 years ago, something like that. She goes, I don't like lobster. I said, okay, it doesn't matter if you don't like lobster. You got to go out there and tell them, hey, why don't you have a lobster? And she understood that We're here to tell people what we got. Not to pressure sale, but to suggestive sale, because there's a difference. Pressure sale, suggestive sale. I always tell my employees, don't pressure the customers. Um, Tell them what we got and suggest, and then it's up to them. And through the years, we kind of, made this menu. I think, it's pretty much where I want it. I mean, I don't see anything else I could do to change it to make it any better than this. We used to have like fried mozzarella. I mean, I apologize. We used to have mozzarella sticks, and I used to hate them. I say, what the hell? We're gonna do something different. So we took, a chunk of mozzarella and we fried it, and we make our own fried mozzarella instead of mozzarella sticks, and that's a number one appetizer. It's crazy. The seafood stuffed mushroom that came out of Max from lemongrass. That's one of his entrees that we still carry with a seafood stuffed attic, a seafood stuffed mushroom, seafood stuffed scallops, and everybody goes crazy about. We got to thank him for that. What else? Hey, cutting our own veal, making our own gnocchi, making our own fresh mozzarella, uh, making things that where, people will come to you because they are fresh, they are homemade, and don't make things that you buy them and you fry them or whatever. You make them to order. A calamari, wow, they're amazing. Mm, excuse me. So yeah, yeah, calamari, we bread them to order, and homemade bread. I never, I'm fortunate, I never liked the bread. No offense to anybody in the area, but I never liked the bread around this area. And please don't get offended, but we started making our own bread because it wasn't really our cup of tea. So we made our own bread, our own dinner bread. um of course, using the best products, that's the key. Don't use like cheap products. I hate the cheap. Cheap is not what brings people in the door. You got to give them a good product. You don't want to go sky high like the Waggle. Once in a while you can put on special. There's certain things that really sky high you can put on special, but you want to make sure that you don't go crazy and put something mediocre. And meaning mediocre, what I mean is not Waggle, but hey, about a Black Angus choice, the Monaco. Some people, they sell prime rib for, $25, $30. Like, well, it cannot be Black Angus. I know what I pay for it. So yeah. Anyway, so like, let me tell you, the shrimps. We use this brand that's called Oishi shrimp, all natural, antibiotic free. I tell everybody, look, anybody else could buy a shrimp and sell it to you, but if you eat a shrimp, it tastes like a shrimp. I think we did something right, didn't we? So stuff like that is what could make a restaurant great. And we get it to the point where we see that people keep on coming. Yeah, they keep on coming, and I think I know why. It's because we care. uh, when people come in the door, I say hi to as much people as I can, and I say goodbye to them as much people as I can. It's very important to us. You cannot just let people go without saying hi, without saying goodbye. Because at the end of the day, without those people, we would have never been here. And we appreciate all of them. We appreciate Winnie Point, the surrounding areas, and then the icing on the cake is also all those travelers we get that comes through Whitney Point through Route 11, which is amazing traffic. Thank God we picked a good location. But we put a lot of money into that building. That building, it's it goes back in the late 1800, 1890 or something like that. And we had to do everything on it. There was no insulation, the electrical, the plumbing. It's almost. I don't think it needs much more. We're gonna do a little bit more remodeling, this year. But the key is always keep up with the place, always make it look nice, always make people say, oh wow, look at what they did here, what they did there. We got the outside tables with the fire, the pit. People come in, they can get in right away, they sit down, enjoy the fire outside, have a little cocktail. And then don't just make cocktails, create. you know, there's a difference between making and creating. You know, you got to create things. You know, I always suggest to my bartenders, you know, come up with an idea, come up with a special, you know, come up with something great. You know, my wife, you know, just recently came up with this Tito's infused with lemon, and we call it the limoncello. Uh, Limoncello, we make a limoncello spritz. It was one of the best selling items I ever had as a drink. It's totally insane. You know, everybody loved it. And, you know, tell you what, though, you know, it tastes fabulous. Again, here we are, we're making a drink where, you know, a fresh fruit infused in a vodka makes the vodka go bang, you know, so that worked out really well. And you know, we just want to keep it up, you know, and because, you know, we enjoy it, we love it, you know. And now we got my son, my nephew Steve in the pizzeria, and all the great people behind them that you know, are running the show. Sometimes, you know, my son goes, what you need doing here, you know, you don't need to be here, go retire. I love my customers. I love my people. I gotta be there because I want to say hi to you. I want to. If I don't see you for a while, I got worried. I say, you know, what happened to this guy? What happened to that guy? Because at the end of the day, you know, I'm a people person. I love people, and I enjoy, you know, watching them come in, and I enjoy saying hi to them. Yeah, you know, we're gonna do a lot more. We're always gonna be creative. You know, I love creativity. You know, if you come in and you talk about football, you know, as a worker, you know, I'd rather you talk to me about cooking or baseball. No, talk to me about cooking. What you want to do? What you gonna do? What you gonna create? That's what I want you to talk about. You know, I want you to talk about what you could do to make people come in more, put a smile on the face. You know, and we made so many great connections, great friends, and all my customers, I consider them as friends anyway. You know, and it's been a great 43 years. 43, incredible. Eh? I seen kids grow up, you know, starting out, coming to give me hugs. Now they're married, they got their own kids, you know. And I say, oh, remember when you used to come behind the counter and used to make your own cannoli, you know, and the kids make cannolis. You know, yeah, I love young people, you know, because that's the future of this country, this future of this world, you know. So you got to make sure you pay attention to them. They need to, you know, be paid attention to. You know, I don't think we do that enough sometimes, you know, in this world. So, you know, we had some great connections, you know, great people. At this point, you know, first time on YouTube Live, see if you could help me, you know, bring it up a notch, and maybe we could, you know, maybe bring in some creative dishes to YouTube. Maybe we could do some exciting things. It's all up to you. If you could help me, you know, I could help you, and we could all make an exciting thing happen from this beautiful place, Aiello's Restaurant in Winnie Point, New York, in the middle of upstate New York, which is a beautiful area, and we love to keep it going for many, many more years. Our new generation is taking over. Vito, Steve, and all the other people. Let's not forget them. You know, we got a great, great employees back of the house, front of the house. I'm not gonna name them all because I'm gonna forget one. Somebody's gonna get upset, but you know who you are. You know who made the Aiellos great, and you know, thank you. I want to give you guys all a pat in the back. Without you guys, you know, we wouldn't be here. So anyway, love you guys. Help me make this videos. So show me some love, some likes, whatever it takes, likes, share, everything. Thank you again, Charlie Aiello. Goodbye for now. Love you. See you soon.